Check it out, we are here at Dollywood. They're giving us a sneak peek at the Flower and Food Festival. More importantly, they're going to let us know what we can expect on our visit to Dollywood in phase 1 of this reopening. As you see, I do have a mask on. They are going to require those, but they do have areas, relaxation areas they're calling it, and we'll see later on in the video, that we can take our masks off and just kind of sit and relax. So there's a lot of changes going on in Dollywood, a lot of things that we can expect them to do, and hey, this video is going to show you what we can expect from them, what they expect from us, what we can, just the overall whole experience of what we can expect from Dollywood in phase 1 of reopening. So as you see behind me, they got the Flower and the Food Festival going on starting Monday. We're going to get a sneak peek at some of that. Can't wait to see it, so let's get going. Oh, my stupid glasses keep fogging up.
I gotta put my name. Make sure you put the band on before you get to the next gate.
Oh, I'm good on all that.
Gotta say no, no, no.
No, no, no.
I didn't hear a no.
No, no, no.
Thank you. Gotta have it on before you go through the next gate.
Okay, we're in the gate, temperature checks, answer the questions. No, no, no is what they're looking for. And now we're gonna go through and see what all's going on in here.
So I'm going to take my mask off so you can hear me. Thanks all for coming out and joining us today, just so you can see an idea of everything that our guests will be doing when they come to visit us. We have Pete Owens, who is the VP of Marketing and Public Relations, as well as Eugene Naughton, who is the VP of Park Operations, with us today. They'll be with us going through to kind of talk to you about all the different protocols that you'll see throughout the park, what our guests will experience, some areas that we'll have for them to relax and take a break while they're here with us. And again, we're glad you're here. We appreciate you being here. We're glad to be here, and we're ready to welcome guests back. So thank you again, and I'll let Pete go from here. Okay.
So as Wes said, thanks for coming. So we're going to walk around and we're going to look at a couple of things. You'll have an opportunity to see a lot of the social distancing protocols that we've set up, and you'll get an opportunity to see that firsthand. You experienced one firsthand as you came in. So whether you're a working crew or a guest, everybody that comes in will be temperature checked, and we'll have a wristband, so that we know that they've been temperature checked and they've answered the health screening questions before they come in. We are doing that at the tram stops out in the parking lot, so they have an opportunity if there is a situation where someone in their party has a temperature above 100.4, that they don't have to get on a tram, go back to their car, and go, because they are required, the entire party is required to leave the property if one of the people that they've traveled here with in the same vehicle has a temperature of over 100.4. We'll issue them a rain check so they can come back any other day that they'd like to come back, but that's what the protocol is. So you're going to see a lot of signage that Eugene and the operations team have worked very hard to build the plan so that it dovetails not only with CDC guidelines and the Tennessee Pledge, but also with what standard practice is within our industry. And I think the last one is something that will help you understand this. So I'm sure all of you have received calls, emails, etc. of why in a theme park that's outside are we required to wear masks. That is the protocol for the theme park business internationally. So Disney, Universal, Cedar Fair, Six Flags, our parks, among lots of others, are requiring masks in this phase of reopening. So as we continue and the phases continue to open, and social distancing guidelines change, a lot of those things may change. We're taking that based on information that we get from the CDC, information we get within the industry, information that we get from our healthcare partner at Covered in Health, and from the state. And we will stay very close to that. As a matter of fact, since we made the announcement that we were reopening, we've already made one change, and that change is at Splash Country. The only time that you're required to wear a mask at Splash Country is in areas that you cannot socially distance. So that would be queues of food locations, as an example, or when you first come in. You still have to have the same health screening, etc. But that changed because that guideline changed within the industry and within what we've seen from the CDC and with our healthcare experts. So I think some of these things are going to be fluid, but we're doing what we can to try to keep folks that come to visit us and our employees as safe as we possibly can. And remember, the mask that you're wearing is not about protecting you, it's about protecting other people. So that's what we've tried to instill in our hosts, so they understand this is about our events, it's about our guests, and we hope our guests will understand that in areas where they have to wear a mask, and you'll see when we walk around, and that's not everywhere and all the time, but it's about other people, so it's not about themselves, and I think we can explain that. So, anything you want to add?
No, I really wanted to say how excited I am to get back to the business of fun. There's certainly no more excitement when our teams get a chance to welcome our enthusiasts back onto the Dollywood properties and get back to the business of getting away from all the pressures of the world and start seeing the sparkle in people's eyes when they're on property. So we're excited to show you around today. And it's great to meet everyone in person.
Well, here we go ahead. All right. So just to give you an idea, since I'm pretty sure everybody's been here at least once in their lives before, we're gonna walk down Show Street to get an opportunity to see a lot of what we've installed already for Flower and Food and a lot of the social distancing protocols that we have set up. We're gonna go around to a ride location, so you'll be able to see how those guidelines affect ride operation. We then are going to come around to one of our buffet restaurants, previously that were buffet restaurants, so Aunt Granny's in this particular case. And then we'll come back down Show Street and you'll have an opportunity to see one of the rest zones that we have for folks where they're not required to wear a mask and they can relax without masks on, so you get an idea of what that is. And then we'll come back around and we'll be available so that we can do some interviews with you one-on-one and be able to get what you need for deadlines that our working crews have, and for our influencers and other folks that are here can help you, kind of round out the stories that you're writing for your readers. So let's head this direction.
So one of the things I wanted to bring attention to on a big operational change, probably take you back to something that your parents probably talked about a lot when you were growing up. Besides the mask from the protection of other people, what our Covenant Healthcare partners have really emphasized to me and has driven us to an operational change is washing your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds really is one of the best ways that you can avoid, getting a virus. So we're encouraging that. We've added incremental portable hand sinks on property in each of the zones of our park to allow a greater chance of washing your hands as you're visiting Dollywood. So I just wanted to highlight that change to you.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talked about hand sanitizer, and this is just a step above that. I mean, we have between all of our properties about 350 locations of hand sanitizer. So that ensures that there is a hand sanitizer location pretty much within eyeshot of wherever you are in whatever zone of the park you're in. But these sinks are an incremental thing, and it may be a little more traditional, but it provides an opportunity to have an alternative that, you know, our healthcare experts have told us this is the best way to do it. And so we're trying to use best practice whenever we possibly can. Sure. You want me to wash my hands? Oh, it's not on yet? I thought it was.
When you come on Monday, it'll be on.
Nope. Thought maybe they might have snuck it in overnight for you.
Hey, look, it's Rockin' Sandy.
All we do is, it's amazing how it goes out. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
yeah. This is the thing. I'd like to get a full drag. Yeah. So at the end, we have something to give you to take with you, but it also will have a press release about flour and food, which you see we're getting ready for. But it also has a by the numbers fact sheet for you. So some of these numbers that Eugene and Pete will talk about, all of that will be on that sheet. So you don't have to worry if you don't get the note. It will be in that for you as you leave.
So obviously another common touch point, you know, when you're entering a ticketed venue, normally you have a turnstile arm at the turnstile, right? But we've removed our turnstile arms to make sure that we're removing that high touch point from the entry experience at our park.
Can you roll with me? I'm ready, boys.
Okay, so you can see here is this is the Wild Roots Band. They'll be performing during the festival, so they're here getting ready for Monday. You'll see here we're under the umbrella sky, which is part of the Flower and Food Festival. There are more than 600 of these umbrellas suspended along Show Street. We were originally going to have a group from Portugal come to help us put these up. They were unable to travel, so this has all been done by our employees, by our group of employees. They've learned it, they figured out how to suspend the umbrellas, so they were able to do it on their own. They put a lot of work into it to make sure it looks as good as it does, so we're very proud of them. And there's a lot of that through here with all of these elements of the festival that they've had to learn. So I'm going to give it to Eugene now, and he's going to talk about the signage you see.
So throughout all of the park grounds, we've added social distancing signage reminders. So you'll notice in the flower beds reminders of social distancing and making sure you play safe with us by wearing your mask. And you'll notice that throughout the entire ground.
So the umbrellas, there's 600 of them along Show Street here. There was a group from Portugal who was going to come help us put this installation in. They were unable to travel, so our employees learned the process, figured out how to do it and make it work here, and they were able to put everything in. So there were a lot of projects like that that our folks had to learn and pick up while they're also getting used to all the other requirements. So a lot of work on their behalf, and very proud of what they've been able to do to make this festival look as great as it does.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pete highlights another big change. You'll get a picture of the Coca-Cola red truck behind us. Obviously, a part of our process from self-service beverage stations that were a big part of our environment, prior to operations, pre-COVID and post-COVID operations, self-service drinks are not going to be allowed. So we're either going to do crew serve on all soda products, and we're also calling audible to do canned drinks on occasions where we can't socially distance in particular restaurants. So that's another change from a safety perspective.
And really something we haven't had canned drinks in the park in, I don't know, long time. I mean, I've been here 20 years. It's been a long time. And it's something that allows us to follow those social distancing guidelines in this phase. And then, as we said outside before we came through the turnstiles, it is, those things are going to continue to adapt and change as we go. But that's something that's pretty unique for this operation. And when you come on the park with your families, that's one of the things that you'll see if you were used to going to get a self-serve beverage, that's not happening now. Pretty lovely, not only look but feel of Umbrella Sky. It makes Show Street really nice and cool, and I think it's a beautiful installation.
We'll keep working up Show Street on our way to Aunt Granny's, to one of our restaurants, to show you some of the changes that will take place there.
And if you want to stop, you'll start to see some of the large icons. You see the upside down umbrella and the butterflies that are here. That's a really good example of mosaic culture, of an icon like that. And you'll start to see some of the larger ones as we come down and go a little further down Show Street.
Alright, so you've seen a number of the mosaic cultures that are part of the Flower and Food Festival as we've worked up Show Street. Here in Market Square is really the centerpiece of that part of our festival, and this is Dolly's mother, Abby Lee, and she is sewing together the coat of many colors. So it was something that Dolly really enjoyed seeing, that her mother would be represented as part of this festival. You can see the butterflies around, which also are very symbolic of Dolly and Dollywood. Just an amazing showpiece here for folks as they come through Market Square. You'll see also in this area there are a number of food service locations which will have festival-specific food items. All of those are listed in the press release that you'll get at the end. You'll be able to pick up most of those here. And then you'll also see, as you go back this way, we'll go back over here in a minute to see Rocket Roadway, but some of that will kind of continue over through this way as you leave out of Market Square.
I don't know if you all realize, Pete relayed there's a lot of operational changes that happen. So these mosaics actually came from Montreal. And you probably realize that the border between the U.S. and
Canada was closed, so we had to work very hard with our state representatives to get clearance to get these through the border. Did everybody hear that with the beeping? Yeah. Okay. We'll move through Market Square. You'll see some other stuff on the other side. As I mentioned, you'll see some of the food items on the signage around Market Square. And we'll head into Aunt Granny's restaurant where Eugene will be able to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in the food service location. Everything is fluid. We're just going to play it based on guidelines, and once we know, we'll be able to. So these are some more of the mosaic culture icons. These are a family of raccoons. After we leave the restaurant, we'll take you and show you more of these more fun bears and different animals that we have around the park. But just a very good photo location here, very picturesque, and just something fun for that the whole family will enjoy. When we go in, we're going to go in this far door down here at Aunt Granny's. We'll walk through. Then there'll be an exit door. We'll hold that for you so you don't have to touch anything on your way out. So we'll make that loop now. This is Aunt Granny's, which is usually a buffet. I'll let Eugene talk to you about how that will change into family style serving and some of the other changes that you'll see at the food service locations across the park.
So Dollywood is just like a small city, and if you think about all the different components that we have, our culinary operations are one of the significant changes. In the Tennessee Pledge and the CDC guidelines, they recommend distancing standards of six feet in between tables. So this dining room has been reset, for that. You'll see signs on tables throughout our property that are closed, basically, because we want to make sure that we're maintaining the distancing standards. You think about a buffet restaurant, a lot of common touches on utensils, and that's not a good idea in this environment. So Granny's is going to be switched over to family style service. You'll be seated at the table, and then we'll be bringing dishes only for use at your table. So that's how this operational change is going to be happening. You'll notice distancing details throughout the property on QSR restaurants, quick serve restaurants like hamburgers and pizza. We've dedicated specific spots for people to stand in order to keep their social distance, and we'll be having to do that on grounds all over the Dollywood Park system.
Okay. Any questions about food service just while we're going, since we're in here and the air's on?
Yeah.
So people can take their mask off in here to eat.
So that's a great point and a great reminder. Watching just my own reaction on property, you know, while we've been getting ready for the last 3 weeks. It gets really hot. And the Tennessee Pledge gives us the ability to not wear our masks when we're eating, you know, on grounds. So that means that when you're at a table, at a restaurant or a QSR, you'll be able to take your mask off. That also means when you're walking the midways on property, and if you're having your favorite turkey leg or corn dog or munching on your funnel cake as you're getting, you know, to your next attraction, you'll be able to enjoy your food and walk the midways without your mask on. As soon as you're done with your snack, then you'll put your mask back on. The other thing that we mentioned, I think, a little bit at the front gate, reacting to how hot it is in our masks, even for our hosts, we realized that the guests are going to need a break from masks. So we've identified relaxation zones throughout the park property that will be set up with tables and umbrellas to give our guests the chance to just take a break from the mask, but still meet socially distanced guidelines. And that's an operational change after watching what happened in Florida when Universal opened because of the heat and humidity in Florida. So we reacted to that and created special zones, and we'll visit one of those zones before we leave our tour today.
How are you guys going to enforce the mask policy?
So I don't like to use the term enforcement. I'm using the term encouragement, right? Because if you notice what's happening today, if you see reports of the virus increasing, you know, we have to maintain our safety so that we can continue to enjoy the Dollywood Park. So we have a team of ambassadors that have been instituted since operating in this post-COVID operations, that their only job will be encouragement and reminders for areas of the park where people needed to be social distancing and perhaps they've not remembered, or if they're not wearing a mask and they should be, we're going to encourage, you know, from a safety perspective for them to do that. If people respond that they really need a break, then our ambassadors will know where to get the closest break station for the guest that needs a break from the mask. I'm going to encourage our culinary experiences because they're really special, but also the relaxation zones are available for use too.
You know, maybe a good place to jump off, and we can talk about this when we do some interviews later, but let's talk about exceptions. So as we said, you're required to wear them as you queue in and in any situation that you cannot be socially distanced. I mean, clearly the way you all are standing right now, you're not socially distanced. The way that Eugene and I are standing, we're socially distanced. And actually, we're socially distanced from y'all, so we really could take our masks off if we wanted to. Kids under 3 are not required to wear a mask. If you're on a high thrill attraction, you're not required to wear a mask, or a water attraction. I already touched on outside at Splash Country, but also on other water ride attractions here, you're not required to wear a mask. You know, in these relaxation or rest zone areas, you're not required to wear a mask. When you're eating, whether you're walking in a restaurant, walking seated, any of those situations, you're not required to wear a mask. The key is we're trying to protect others from ourselves, so we're asking for folks to be respectful of others. That is, you know, no different than we would ask them to behave when they're on park in any situation. Be respectful of your neighbor. You know, it is really the golden rule, right? That we're asking you to treat others the way that you want to be treated. And in this particular case, it's, you know, wear a mask when it's appropriate, and we will encourage you to do so with the ambassadors that we have. But there are a lot of exceptions to what I think has been misconstrued within the industry as, you know, you got to wear a mask everywhere you are every minute, and that's just not true.
It's a lot like smoking, right? You think about people are smoking on property. We have special zones for where you should smoke. So that's, again, you're encouraging people to use the the smoking area if they need to enjoy their cigarettes.
Maple syrup at some store. So we're going to use it for experiment anyway. Because it's cheap.
So while we're up here, you can see the bear family here, another of the mosaic cultures. The tallest mosaic culture that is part of this festival is the one of Abby Lee sewing together the coat of many colors. It is 14 feet tall. It is the largest by height. As we walk through here, we're passing by the back porch theater. So one thing that we are doing during this time, all of our indoor theaters will be closed. All of our entertainment will take place on our outdoor stages just to allow for the CDC guidelines and just more spacing for folks. We've moved some of our entertainment that would be indoors to outdoors, and then some of the street entertainment that you're used to. Miss Lillian and Francis will be in the park as well. So some changes there to as we go through this, but all the entertainment will be taking place on outdoor stages. So we're here near River Rampage. So there are a few different requirements for masks as they relate to some of our rides. So Eugene can talk to you a little bit about what those requirements are specifically on our attraction.
So there are a lot of rides, are high thrill rides where masks are not going to be required. You know, from the guest perspective, although if they wanted to wear them, they've been tested and it's perfectly fine. The masks actually stay on, but they won't be required. The other thing to talk about from a ride operational change is we're not mixing groups of people. You know, it's very common when you visit a theme park to have a single rider ride with somebody else from a different group, and that's no longer going to be possible. So we're not going to be mixing groups of people for single rides. You'll also notice that several of our ride chassis will not go out full because we're distancing people in between rows on our attraction. So that's also going to be in place on the 15th when we open. Most of our attractions are operating at 50% capacity, but there are some attractions that are operating on less than that because the ride vehicles do not allow for the proper social distancing. So some rides even are down as low as 25% to maintain to our safety standards.
So all are at 50%, but some are less.
There's a few that are less than 50%.
So to give you an example, here's a practical example. So in our Country Fair area of the park, there are rides that are for walking age only children. So like a Lucky Ducky or a Busy Bee that we typically would put 2 children in that may or may not be from the same family. We won't do that now. It would be 1, and because of the capacity and the way that the ride is configured, it's less than 50% of capacity for that particular attraction. But you know, there are, as we go, we're going to try to work with families to keep families together and still manage that social distancing in the business play.
And will the rides be cleaned between each use?
Well, there is a cadence for cleaning each attraction. There has been a shift in what we had originally planned. We had originally planned in wiping down after each cycle, but because we've installed hand sanitizing stations, when you go into a queue and when you come out of a queue, we're no longer required to do it between every cycle, because if you're going to go ride, before you get on the ride, you can get hand sanitizer, and immediately after you come out of a ride, you can put on hand sanitizer. It serves the same function. But we are sanitizing attractions and high-touch surfaces on a regular cadence. And there are checklists for, I think we'd said earlier, there's more than 700 operational changes across the park. And some of those are based in what these protocols are. We've always been respected as a very clean park. And I can tell you in the years that I've been here, this is exponentially higher cleanliness levels than we typically have experienced. And that's been a very high standard.
Any rides not reopening?
We have a couple of areas in the park. You'll probably realize when I say it. It's not really a ride, but children's playground areas. Any of us who are parents realize it's pretty tough to control social distancing in that environment. So the children's play areas are going to remain closed during this phase 1 operation. But from a ride perspective, we're up and running. There is one ride called Lumberjack. You guys might remember. It's a pulley system where you're actually pulling the ride conveyance up. That attraction's closed because of the high touch point frequency of the pulley. And there's really no way to correctly sanitize the ropes, so we've chosen to keep that attraction closed as well.
And the other one is, it's another playground area, but it's also an indoor facility. So Hidden Hollow at Wildwood Grove is also not open, and that checks 2 boxes. So that one will not be opening in this phase.
What's the last one?
Hidden Hollow at Wildwood Grove.
It's the indoor children's play area. It sort of does both boxes for indoors and playing for children, not
I have a question as a roller coaster fan.
Yep.
So you're going to have fewer people in the park, but you're going to have fewer spots available on each ride. So what do you think it's going to mean for wait times?
So it's a really great question, because I'm excited to tell you that the ride wait times in this situation is going to be less than it was in pre-COVID operation. I could bore you to death and talk about how many square feet per ride and the studies that we did from a throughput, but we have it down based on the number of cycles and the number of people riding, that our ride wait times are actually going to be less in post-COVID operation. So I think the park experience is going to be a lot more fun, in that regard.
You still have the time saver program?
We will have the time saver program, and I know it's a big benefit for our Dream More guest resorts that they participate, in that as a part of a resort stay. So we are doing that, and it's obviously being managed by the number of time saver options that we're going to be selling on ground to not ruin our capacity studies that we're using to run the park.
Anybody else while we're in the shade?
All right, we will now move over and see some of this in play at Rock and Roadway. Okay, we're going to go through the full queue. Along the way, you will see decals on the ground that dictate the 6 feet of social distancing along the way. So we can kind of space out in the queue and show you how they're going to operate the queue lines to maintain that social distance. We also have some ride operators who will be able to show you on this ride kind of what they're going to be doing to help load and unload guests off of the attractions. So I'll let Eugene go. I will hold the door, and he'll lead you through the queue. And note those 6 foot distancing decals along the way and where that puts you apart from each other.
So you'll notice a couple of changes from a switchback perspective, that we're blocking certain lanes of traffic inside of our queues to help with the distancing standard inside of our ride venue. So you'll notice several switchbacks that are not in use anymore because we wanted to maintain the distancing standard. It's okay for you if some of you want to go down the first lane?
Yeah. So that way we can kind of talk to everybody through.
Okay, everybody, you get an idea based on the way the queue is, and we'll have groupers and other folks to be able to help so that we keep, family parties together, but we keep people separated. I'll let Benjamin and Wes kind of explain what they're doing when you're actually queuing into the ride and how they're going to be dealing with each individual guest, and then what the entrance and exit experience is for that. So I'll get out of your way.
Awesome. So as our guests enter the main queue line, the first host that they come into contact with, they'll give those guests a supportive Germex and watch them do the rub down guidelines from the CDC. And then they will continue on to board into the ride vehicle, and then we'll dispatch the ride just like normal at that point. And then we have Germex or another hand sanitizer available at the ride exit. And then we've increased their frequencies of sanitizing our ride vehicles as well. So process stays the same. We're just adding a few extra sanitation steps in there to keep our guests safe. And the solution we will let sit for 30 seconds so it can do its thing and disinfect. So it will take some time to do that. So if it looks like we're just waiting, we are. Can you see you're doing that between every ride, every guest? We've just increased their frequencies, so we'll do that as needed throughout the day.
Four.
Johnny, you're an angel to me.
That you'll find throughout the park. Eugene can tell you more about the number of those and where you'll be able to find those. But it's a great location for guests to be able to come, sit down, take their masks off, and just relax for a moment before they continue on their day. Like I said, there will be a number of locations throughout the park where they're able to do that. I'll let Eugene speak to that.
Yeah, I think mostly it's being positive in our communication with our guests and giving a positive place to go. If someone needs a break from their mask, we wanted them to have a place to go besides a culinary operation. So you'll notice that all major zones in the park do have relaxation zones added, which will, I think, be a big benefit to the overall park experience. And as we open, we'll call audibles as necessary and make operational changes that will satisfy the challenges of our guest experience in this new world. But we do think this will be a real positive thing to add from a visitation perspective.
Are there going to be signs out here saying like...
We do have a signage program coming, you know. Good thing is we don't open till Monday, so I have a few more days of preparations to go. Sorry that I couldn't get it done before today's walk, but there will be signs explaining what is going to happen. We're also going to have ambassadors on ground and also at each of the stations to help answer questions and also be good listeners to the guest experience. If there's anything that we see that needs to be addressed from a guest visit, this will be a great place for us to learn about that and interacting with our guests.
Dollywood had graciously given us a little media pack. I have some stat sheets in there for you that I will be sharing out, and some goodies. Look at that. Let me turn this around where y'all can see it. Look at them goodies. Oh boy, I can't wait to dig into them. And just so y'all know, I had a great time hanging out with these two, Adventures at Rock. The link is down below in the description. Hey, check them out. They go all over the place, and they're really good friends of mine. Y'all are gonna love their videos. Y'all say hey.
Hey guys, definitely check us out.
Please do.
Well, there you have it. That's what Dollywood's going to require from us and what we can expect from them. Got a sneak peek of the Flower and the Food Festival. Can't wait to see that. They open up on Monday and Tuesday for season pass holders and Wednesday for the public. A lot of great information. Thank you, Dollywood, for inviting us out. Be sure to check out Adventures at Rock right behind me over here. And that's going to do it for us. If you like the video, please share this out. Let others know what Dollywood's going to expect and what we can expect and all the changes coming up. Great news. Dollywood's opening. See you next time.